Good morning and welcome to A Better World with Julann and Fran. I'm Julann.
And I'm Fran. And today we have a very special guest, Cathy Weber-Zunker. She's a hypnotherapist, a keynote speaker. She's been in childcare. She loves the precious moments in life, and she's a writer. Welcome, Cathy.
Thank you. Nice to be here.
And would you talk to us a little bit about some of the things or one of the things that you do that makes the world a better place?
You know, preparing for this podcast gave me time to think about how do I and how do other people make the world a better place. And one of the things that I do right now that I did not have the opportunity to do in the past is that my hypnotherapy office is in a building where there are 50 different businesses. And I specifically park in the parking lot that is the furthest away from my office, not only to get extra steps, but because the driver's exam office is there. And every nationality, people that can't speak English, people that speak English, broken English, people that speak English well, it is filled with 16-year-olds that are nervous and they're scared and they want to pass their driving test. And I have made it my mission that when I enter the building, if there's a 16-year-old there, I stop and I talk to the student, to the 16-year-old and their parent, and I say, "Are you testing today?" "Yes." And then I say, "I just want you to know that all of the testers here are really nice people. They want you to pass this test. So just relax. Just relax and do your best and you're going to be fine." And I say the same thing over and over and over every day. No matter what nationality, if I can communicate. There was one day the dad was holding the door open and his daughter was standing there, and I started my typical line, "Are you testing today?" And I said, "The testers here all are really wonderful people. And, um, just relax." And the father looked at me and he said, "Thank you for that." And so right now in my life, I really focus a lot on the people that are just in the waiting area in the building because I'm going through. And one day there was a family and they had very, very dark skin and they had a beautiful little baby there. And I stopped and I said, "Oh, what a beautiful child." And they looked at me and they smiled and I said, "Where are you from?" And he was searching for words like what to say, and then he said, "Cuba." And I said, "Oh," I said, "Welcome, welcome." And their faces just beamed. And I never knew that having my hypnotherapy practice in an office would give me an opportunity to do exactly what I love. And I listened to the two of you. I listened to your very first video, and I listened to it twice because it was like, oh my gosh, these two women have just stepped inside of my belief system that everywhere you go there are people that you can help. And talking to strangers to me is one of the most important things. And, the two of you have brought all of this to the front of my mind. There was one day I was at a grocery store and the gentleman behind me had just one item. And I said, "Go ahead." And he said, "No, no." He said, "I've got time." And so I went ahead and I checked out my groceries, but I looked at him in the eyes. And this was one of the things that I thought, Julann, when you were talking about talking to strangers, is that when you look people in the eyes, and I was checking out my groceries, and the man stepped up to me and he said, I found out I have cancer today. And this was a complete stranger.
Yeah.
And I stepped back and I just looked at him and I said, how are you doing with that? And I just stood there and I waited. I just waited. I mean, I don't think that the divine puts people like that in your space unless you're meant to be there. And because of the two of you and this podcast, I have had all of these thoughts rolling through my mind. And it's not just me that realizes that I talk to strangers. And like Julann, you said, you talk to everybody everywhere you go.
I do.
Yeah, yeah. And when I listened to you, it just almost made me cry because I thought, oh my gosh, these two women, they totally get where I'm coming from. And one time I was in Arizona with my granddaughter and I was taking her shopping and her friend. And I was walking through the parking lot and it was warm and it was beautiful. And I threw my arms out and the two girls were behind me. And I heard my granddaughter say to her friend, my grandma is always this way. And, what more do you want to teach your children
Exactly.
and your
And they're
grandchildren?
learning from your example. They
Yes,
see how no matter what happens, you know what I mean?
yes,
No matter what happens, you have a good attitude,
yes,
you're kind, you're friendly, and it makes a difference in the world. You do, you make a difference. Those
yeah,
little
yeah,
things make a difference.
yeah. And my grandson, one time he was driving and we went to get gas, and we went to the gas station and he said, Grandma, you don't have to meet everybody. And this
Yes, I
guy,
do.
this yeah, this guy was parked next to us at the next gas pump, and I didn't say a word. I just had my window down. It was Arizona. It was gorgeous. And the guy started talking to me
That's because you were
and
saying, talk to me, talk to me, talk to me,
talk to me,
talk to me. You'll
please,
see.
right? Yeah, yeah. And so my grandson comes out from paying for the gas and he sees me talking with this guy. And he gets in the car and I said, I didn't start it. Honestly, I didn't start it. But it's
Yeah.
so, you think about COVID and you think about on a psychological basis, what is it that people need? They need meaning and they need purpose and they need connection.
And Clorox
And
wipes. No, just kidding.
yes, exactly, exactly. Yeah. So I am so curious. How did the two of you get together to create this? I apologize for turning the questions around, but
No,
I'm
you're
so
fine. Fran's
curious
going to tell you.
because what?
Fran's
Franny
going to
is?
tell you because this was
Okay.
Fran. This was her
Well,
baby. She
well, it was both of us. Julann and I have known each other since 1977 or something like that. We were 13 or 14 when we met. And we just because of time and distance, we sort of fell out of touch for a little while. And then we get back in touch. And when we got back in touch, Julann said very early on, said, we talked about how we felt about the world and how we know that we can make things better. And she said, what can we do together to make the world a better place? And I just started thinking, it took a while to get to the idea of a podcast, but when I presented Julann with the idea, she thought it was a good idea, and we've been doing it since then.
Wow. And I had a website that was called Never Let a Good Thing Go Unsaid.
Oh,
And, it, you know, it, I didn't have the time to take care of it, but the two of you are motivating
That's great.
me to think about putting that back up again. And I heard a speaker one time make that statement, never let a good thing go unsaid. And I created a keynote out of it. And it was life changing for people. I mean, the points in the outline were, never let a good thing go unsaid, talk to strangers, but then never let a good thing go unsaid, talk to the people in your lives that maybe you have had an argument with, or fix things. And one of the points in the outline is I refuse to send flowers to someone that's dead. If you've got something that you want to say to someone, if you love them that much, then tell them now. And I would get cards in the mail from people saying, I was estranged from my brother, and that presentation brought me brought me back to my senses. And so, I mean, I just think that this has been, and I don't know if you two agree with this, but I just think that this has been a part of me since before I was born, to make the world a better place. And the thing is that my mom was a very negative person,
Oh,
and that taught me a lot. It taught me a
Really?
lot about both sides. And Julann, one of the things that you were talking about was perspective. That life is all about perspective. Everybody has icky things that happen, and you choose how you feel about them. And Fran, I don't know about you, but me in the field of hypnotherapy, yeah, hypnotherapy is, I mean, it is tools that I never knew existed. And to be able to help people with their attitude and their perspective, um,
It's a
yeah,
gift.
yeah. So I don't know about you, Fran, but my hypnotherapy work centers around anxiety. And I've been doing this for 12 years, thinking that at some point somebody is going to call for something other than anxiety. And it has remained the same. And so to be able to help people, is really incredibly important to me. I was in the office yesterday with a couple, and I very rarely work with couples. But the gentleman said to me, when he and I were alone in the office space, he said to me, if it weren't for you, we would not be married.
hmm.
And
Yeah.
I looked at him, and I had to agree. Their issues were big, and the issue was at the subconscious level. And unless you can differentiate where the issue is located and where it's stored, um, I mean, hypnosis just, so I did daycare, I did keynote speaking, and then after that, then I went to hypnotherapy school. So it was almost like my whole life was preparing me. Yeah. Yeah,
Right.
exactly. Exactly. Um, so do you have specific questions you want to ask, or do you want me just to keep going?
Well, I was thinking earlier when you were talking about what you do with the 16-year-olds, what a wonderful, beautiful way to use hypnotherapy. Because what you're doing, of course, is you're giving them suggestions. And maybe if you don't encounter them and you don't have the opportunity to say that, their whole day goes the opposite way. But because
Right.
you've infused them with that, they go in there and it's almost a shame you don't get to have a tally of returns. You don't know,
Right.
they don't tell you how it turned out because I have no doubt in my mind that because of you, The
They
people
do
that,
better.
yeah,
Absolutely. I agree. I do.
Uh,
It's just a kind word. Even the man with cancer. You know what I mean? And I always let people go ahead of me that have a small amount of items. And
mhm,
for him to say, no, I've got a lot of time. And you don't realize that he's got such a devastating thing that he's dealing with. We don't know what anybody else is going through, and we don't know the reason why they act the way they do. And if we can just not take it personally, you know,
mhm,
try to be kind, try to ignore you know, the grumpiness,
mhm,
then we
mhm,
are making a difference every day, all of us.
mhm.
Anybody that is kind or decent or I don't know, looks the other way when someone is really upset or rude, then maybe maybe we touch a life and they pay it forward.
Right, right. And the thing is that I just think that there is so much more kindness in the world, but what affects people's attitude is listening to the news. And one of the things and obviously I said I work with anxiety. One of the things that I tell people is how much news are you watching? Because it affects the body.
It does.
Um, I was at a store a few weeks ago here, and this is Alexandria is a small town. Um, and there was a gentleman, there was a woman in front of me and a gentleman checking out in front of her, and he didn't have enough cash. And she reached into her purse and she got out the money and she gave it to him. And after the gentleman left, I leaned forward and I said, "Thank you so much for doing
Right.
that." Because if she hadn't done it, I would have done it. And I think that we miss that. I think that we don't realize because we're not watching that there are good things that are happening
Going on.
everywhere. And there's another store here in town where you have to, I don't know if you're familiar with it, you have to put a quarter in the cart in
Yes,
order to get a
Aldi's.
cart. Yes, yes,
Yeah,
yes. And so the other day I was at Aldi's and um I dug into my purse and I got a quarter and I got a cart and I was ready to leave and I wanted to just put my cart back and I was going to leave the quarter in the cart. Well, the gentleman gave me a quarter. So I was walking back to my car and here was a woman coming in and she was digging in her purse, could not find a quarter. And I said, "Here you go." And she's like, "Oh, thank you." I mean, and
right.
you think it's so little, but um my three sons are, you know, my oldest son works with an organization that makes a lot of money for charity. And yet the small things are so important to him. And he sent me a story. In Phoenix, they take children shopping before school starts. They take them to Kohl's, and these are children that have no money, and they actually have to hire vans, and they go and pick the children up because the children have no transportation to get to Kohl's. And so they picked up this van load of kids. And of course, on the way there, nobody knows anybody. And they're kind of like scared, like, I'm in this van and I'm with all these people that I don't know. And the last student that they picked up was a girl. And my son was reassuring her, "Yep, you're in the right place. We're going to Kohl's and we're doing the shopping spree." So she got in, and then they took everybody back home again. And the man that was driving, every time they got to somebody's house, he said, "Now, what was the best thing you got?" And these kids were just so excited and just thrilled at what had happened and all the caring people there that were helping them shop. And the girl, they got to her house and they said, "Now, what was the best thing that you got?" And she said, "Well, I got a pair of black jeans because I work at Subway and I have to wear black jeans. But she said, but then I can't wear them to school because they have to be washed. So now I have two pair of black jeans. And then she said, but the best thing, the very best thing I got was a soft baby blue sweater that matches my eyes. And someday I'm going to wear this on my first date.
Oh,
That's the story that my son is telling me. Even though they are giving away thousands of dollars, they get it. And my second son Robbie is has been in 29 weddings.
Mm.
He has been a
geez.
groomsman in 29 weddings, and he's been the best man in 5 of them. He has friendships and kindness that he gives to everyone.
Everyone. That's great.
Yeah. And then my third son, Tommy, I went on the internet to his website because he's got the different organizations that his company supports. And the thing is that all three of them are about the moment, about
Right.
helping real people. My youngest son works in the insurance industry, and one weekend he told me that he had been to a funeral of someone that had a policy who had died. And I said, do you do this for everyone? And he said, well, I go to the funerals of the people that I know.
That's nice.
And I was so touched by that.
Right.
And so, what you were talking about in your recording about people doing kindness, and then your children learn to do it and your grandchildren learn to do it, and it
Mhm.
just makes the world a better
A
place
better
all the
place.
way around.
Absolutely.
So yeah. And I guess there's just one more thing that I had on my list that I wanted to talk about, and that was our friends, people that are our friends. And we get into this texting thing, and sometimes we forget that you can have a beautiful connection on the telephone. And last night I sent a message to a friend of mine who is about 35, something like that. What you doing? And then she answered, and I said, you want to chat for a few minutes? And we got on the phone, and the two of us talked. And before we got off, she said, I needed this so much, and I think COVID taught me that,
Yeah.
to get on the phone and have a real conversation instead of doing this more
I
disconnected
agree.
communication.
I
So
agree.
you guys, the two of you, just really, really inspired me. It made me look around and say, what else? What else can I do? Um, I mean, I have written 3 books, and all of them are touching stories. They're stories of those monumental moments like we've been talking about. And I just am so honored that I am with the two of you. I mean, when
Thank you. How
I
nice. We're honored to
listen,
have you.
We are.
oh, when I listened to you, I just thought, these are kindred souls. These are people that have been brought into my life, and I am just so grateful. Thank you. Thank you for
Thank
doing
you.
this.
Thank
Thank you.
you.
Yeah,
And as
so
far
much.
as service is concerned, I believe that we are all here to serve each other. And I think the reason it feels so good when we do it is that we are fulfilling something. We are doing what we're meant to do.
Right.
And it's easy to be a grumpy person or to insult someone or not to be nice or something like that, but it feels so much better to be kind. And even if the person doesn't say good morning or hello back, at least you wish them a good thing.
Yeah.
um
Yes.
so yeah, I think that's what we're all supposed to be doing.
Right. And
Yeah,
really,
I agree.
almost 95% of the time, if you smile or talk to someone, they're thrilled, you know.
They are.
The
And you could see the way everything changes when you do it,
Yeah.
when you're kind,
Yeah,
when you smile, when you
yeah,
joke,
Yeah.
when you
yeah.
make well, I'm very corny and I always have a joke. I just have to watch myself. But one thing I wanted to say was when you were talking about it, I'm Irish. My sister-in-law, uh, she always says, but what is it with the Irish? What is it with us that nobody can make time to go to lunch? But if there's a wake or a funeral, you all go. I don't understand. Now, my maiden name was O'Brien, and she's married to my brother. So that's the whole joke that it's an Irish thing. And it's true, though. I mean, not that my sister's here. She came up because my granddaughter's birthday is today, and she came to help me run games and do things like that. So when push comes to shove, we're always there for each other. We might not see each other that much because they're all in Brooklyn and I'm here upstate, but we do. We say, oh, let's get together for mom's birthday or dad's because we lost our parents. They're not around anymore. And we figure, what a great opportunity to get together. And we say we're going to do it, and life gets in the way. And it's not that we don't want to, it's just that we allow life. But when someone's gone, oh, this is it. This is the final time. So I think that's one of the things we need to do. We need to make the time when the people are alive. I mean, it's nice to go. Of course, I'm not saying don't go. I'm saying spend more time with the people while they're alive. Make a phone call. Nowadays, like kids are not, my kids are in their 30s, well, almost 40, but they don't, I have to text first. I can't just call. I like to talk, well, obviously, I like to talk. So I would prefer a phone call or face-to-face meeting. So I do the same thing. I text and say, hey, I'm having a cappuccino. I thought it would be nice if you grab
Yes.
something and we had a quick chat or, whatever. So
Yeah.
that's
Yes.
maybe this
Yes.
week we remember that to try to make time and to listen to,
Mm-hmm.
we
Yeah.
have one mouth and
Mm-hmm.
two ears. So
2 years.
we should be doing twice as much listening, we were cooking last night, my husband and I joked that we're responsible for our own reaction to things, right? That's all we can control. We can't control what anybody says or does or how they act, but we can control what we do and to take a minute. So we were cooking. I was making something and he was doing something else, and we're in the kitchen together. And I was opening a can. I said, this never works for me. I have to get a new can opener. This can opener never works. Very calmly, he says, you're squeezing it too tight. I said, yeah? I said, yeah, you're squeezing it too tight. Loosen your grip a little bit. And oh, let me tell you something. I did it and I was like, this is great. Thank you I was so happy. But you know what? I was open to listen. And maybe that's what I have to learn. Sometimes letting go a little or just I'm present, but being open to things being a little easier. Don't grip
I
so hard. Don't hold so
love
tight.
that.
Don't let it go. Take a deep breath that your belly moves, and have a good week. Don't stress out. You
Yeah.
know?
I love that analogy, loosen your grip a little bit. I have a friend. I have the great pleasure of having a friend that is 100 years old.
I'm
And
blessed.
she had a birthday party a few months ago. There were over 350 people that came to her
Nice.
birthday party. And Julann and Fran, I listened to her. I listened to her and I asked the question, what is she doing that has created this life for her? And exactly what you said, she loosens her grip and she lets things flow. She's got 2 children that live within a few miles of where she lives. The one comes to see her every day. The other one is so busy, he calls. doesn't matter to her. I
Right.
mean,
They
she just
both are in touch. Right.
exactly, exactly. And so I really pay attention to her because she's got things to teach me, I think.
Yeah, she's got wisdom.
Yeah, for sure. So,
Well, bless you
and
both. Bless her for living
You
to be
too.
100 and bless you for being her friend.
yeah,
Right.
yes, absolutely. And I love that because the friend I was talking to last night is in her 30s. And earlier this week, I was talking with somebody that was over 100. You know, it's a
Right.
great, again, back to that friendship piece, you know. Yeah, we could go all kinds of
We
directions from
Yes,
there.
we
we
could.
Thank you
This is a
so
nice way
much,
to
you
start
two.
the day, isn't it? It is a
absolutely,
Yes.
nice way to talk to each
absolutely.
other.
Kathy, how would people contact you if they want to get in touch with you?
I have got a website, cathywz.com. I'm also on Facebook, very easy to find, hyphenated name, you know, 2 last names. So it makes it pretty easy for people to find me. Yeah.
Okay. Well, thank you. Did you have any last thoughts on how to make the world a better place?
You know, um, really honestly, I mean, I just think that it is everywhere. I called my sister-in-law the other day. I hadn't talked with her for a while. And I said, "What you doing?" Typical question. She said, "Oh, I'm making quilts. They're going to another country. Our church is making them. And my son has sponsored a child, an orphan child in another country." And she was just going on and on. And it was just all normal talk. And I got off the phone and I thought, people everywhere are doing kindnesses for others. So that's my closing thought.
Well, thank you.
Thank you.
That was
Thank you.
wonderful. So this has been another episode of A Better World with Julann and Fran. Thank you for joining us. And I'm going to stop the recording now.